Conceive, believe, achieve.
This is former UFC middleweight champion of the world, Michael Bisping.
Paddy the Baddy here. You're listening to Combat Sports UK.
And you're watching Combat Sports UK.
Here for Combat Sports UK, I am joined today by one of the top amateur flyweights, not just in Ireland, but in Europe. Some noise coming out of this man's camp at the moment. We're going to be talking about him making the move and going pro shortly. Damien, thank you very much for coming on. How's things, my friend?
Yeah, everything's well. Training's going well and everything's going good. So,
nice one. Nice one. Over the past 2.5 years, you couldn't have been any more successful in the amateur scene. I'm sure your house is starting to look like a bit of a bulk collector's house. You picked up that many amateur titles. I think it was 5 in total. We'll touch on going pro shortly, but do you feel that you've got the absolute maximum out of the amateur scene?
I feel like from I was 17, I was fighting the best in the UK. Like, I've always been fighting the best people from I was at a young age. So I feel like that's going to stand by me. I've been in some tough fights in my amateur career where I've had to dig deep, like push past the barrier. My last fight was the last sort of test because I was a 5-round fight, my first 5-round fight, and then after that fight, it was like, yeah, I'm 100% ready for pro. My coaches agreed, and now we're making a move to the professional.
Did you ever consider it sooner? Because there's a lot of guys who maybe would have picked up their first few amateur titles and thought, right, that's me ready to go pro now. But you've been nice and patient with it. You're still very, very young, so you can afford to do that. But you went through, picked up all the belts, took the hardest fights. Do you feel that'll stand the bigger stead whenever you do go pro, the fact that you have been in so many tough fights already?
Yeah, 100%, because a lot of people, they feel they win a few amateur titles and they're like, yes, that's me ready for pro. And then they might get a few handy pro fights starting off, and then when they start fighting real competition, it's like, well, we shouldn't be fighting professional. But as you said there, I'm young. Like, I'm only 20 years old. I'm in no rush. Like, I'll look over if I was like 25, 26, I won a few belts. Like, I'd have to go pro if I wanted to make somewhat of a career, but I'm 20. I could do another year of amateur if I really wanted to, but it's just trying to get the right matchups, because I've had like a lot of pullouts throughout my amateur career. From even before I won any belts, I was getting pullout after pullout, and I don't want to go next year with the same, only getting like one fight because loads of people are pulling out. And I feel like I've done enough from the amateur scene. I've been doing combat sports from I was 3 years old, so I have a lot more experience than most men in this sport. So that just gives me the confidence and the reassurance when I'm ready to take the next step.
It does. You're definitely making the right move at the right time, in my opinion. Anyway, looking on from the outside, we've seen you evolve over the past 2.5 years. I know you've been doing combat sports a lot longer, but from your first amateur fight, you've got KOs, decisions, submissions. You've done it all. What are the key lessons you've kind of learned coming through them fights that you can take into the pro scene?
See, I took a lot from them fights, because sometimes in my head, like if someone trips, in my head, I'm like, he's hurt, he's rotten, go and try and finish him. But now throughout the career, like, I feel like my decision making's better. I'm a lot more patient. I'm a lot more confident and more comfortable being in there. Like, I don't feel out of place. I feel when I'm in there, I'm so comfortable, and I feel like I've gotten better at making people fight my game. Because a lot of people sort of come at me, chase me, and they're just feeding into my game and letting me get my shots off. And savage.
So we've talked about going pro. We kind of mentioned it just off camera there. Have you got an idea? Have you got a preference about where you want your first pro fight to be? Will it still be in Ireland? Do you think you're going to go across the water and get it? I'm sure there's going to be plenty of opportunities for you. In a way, you'll be very in demand for them pro cards.
Yeah, so I'm not sure at the minute, because there'd be a lot of opportunities that could be coming my way. But to be honest, I feel like my first pro fight might be on my home show, Cage Conflict. So I could be the perfect way to start my professional career. But at the end of the day, I'm not sure what opportunities are going to come in, if bigger promotions are looking me to saying to them, or whatever my coaches think. If they feel like I should take a fight in Cage Conflict just to sort of get the feel for like the new rule set, because it's a completely different sport from amateur to pro. Longer rounds, smaller gloves, knees, elbows, so it's a lot more dangerous, and I feel like it suits my style so much more.
Will your training have to change at all to account for that? Like, are you already training knees to the head, elbows to the head in training? Are you training for the longer rounds? Like, will you have to go through a transition period and sparring and training from going amateur to pro? Or are you doing all that already?
Not at all, because there's a lot of professionals in our team. Our team is a very professional team. So
Yeah,
from
they are.
15, I've been training 5-minute rounds. I've been doing elbows for the last 3 years, knees for the last 3 years, because there's no point of being like, right, we're about to go pro now. Now let's start working on these elbows. But I've been doing them for the last 3 years, so now I'm gonna have it so sharp and so good, and I'm very excited to add them in, because it's an extra 4 limbs. It's an extra lot of weapons I can add in, and especially with my style, I feel like I get a lot of good finishes using these new tools.
You'll be a dangerous man with the knees and elbows, I can only imagine. You kind of mentioned it there. You started when you were the age of 3, which is unreal, really. Can you kind of talk us through your journey to now in MMA? I know you've done kickboxing, I know you've done jiu-jitsu before, and I think you're a world champion. Are you a world champion at each of them?
Yeah, so in jiu-jitsu, I sort of just was all Ireland's and all, but I sort of came away from jiu-jitsu to sort of focus on my kickboxing. I won like multiple European championships, world championships, German Open, British Open, Austrian Open, like everything in kickboxing. So I've won a lot from kickboxing, but I've always wanted to do MMA. Like from when I was a kid, Chuck Liddell was always my favorite fighter, because like I have the UFC 10 DVD set in my room in there, and that sort of inspired me to like do MMA. So the end goal was always to get into MMA. So I did kickboxing for a good bit, and then a lot of people don't know, I also did boxing for 8 years. I boxed at a high level on the high performance team for like a long time, and I sort of had to stop because boxing's sort of different. You can't do two combat sports while competing at a high level in boxing. Because I was going away with a high performance team, and they were telling me I had to delete my social medias, keep it all private and all. And then I sort of thought, you know what, boxing was to help me MMA. Now's the time just to make the move to full-time MMA, and I have not looked back since.
Which one did you start first then whenever you were 3? Was it kickboxing back then? And then at what age did you start bringing jiu-jitsu into it?
See, my kickboxing coach, he was also he's a jiu-jitsu black belt. Well, at the time, I think he was like a brown belt. But he sort of got us into it, and we did jiu-jitsu for about 4 or 5 years when I was a kid. From like the ages maybe 5 to 9, we did jiu-jitsu, and then when I sort of turned 9, I sort of got some opportunities to compete like worldwide in kickboxing. So we sort of stopped doing jiu-jitsu and just put all our focus on the kickboxing, because we were getting like so much opportunities, and I wanted my full focus to be in that.
You can see how it's turned you into this complete all-rounder now. You know, it's not as if you've come specifically from one martial art. And even the fact, like, you are kind of part of this new generation where you're coming through as a fully fledged mixed martial artist. You know, you talk about UFC 10, Chuck Liddell and all them guys. Back in that day, they come from one discipline and they tried to transition in the MMA, whereas you've been doing it from like the very, very start, which is really good to see. Like, it's cool. Was it always tunnel vision to become an MMA fighter? Have you ever had any other ideas, right? I might go and try this. Has it always been, that's been your goal from day dot? That's what you've wanted to do?
Always been MMA. Even before I knew what it took to become an MMA champion, like, it was always, I want to be a UFC world champion. I want to be in the UFC. I want to fight MMA. It's just before I knew what it took, because my first MMA fight, I got submitted in 25 seconds. Like, it's insane. Like, 25 seconds, I came in with a mindset, I'm a high-level kickboxer. I'm going to smoke this kid. And he took me down and armbarred me in 20 seconds. I was like, shit. And I
was that kind of humbling for you?
Big time. To made me realize what it took. And then I sort of kept going. And I started getting better, but I wasn't putting the full attention in MMA. I was like a kid. I was like out with my mates a lot, not putting the full focus. And then I fought Lewis Lever. He was my only amateur loss. And then after I lost to him, that just turned the switch on me. And I was like, I need to be doing more. I need to be ticking all these here boxes. From that our fight, I haven't lost a fight since. And I feel like I'm improving and getting better every single day, because I don't do training camps. I just train all year round. Right after that, my last fight there, I was straight back to the gym that Monday, training full time again.
That's unreal. That's unreal, especially for the age of you as well. It's serious commitment, and you can see it paying off. One fight I did want to talk to you about that spinning heel kick KO. How did that feel? Because obviously you set traps in MMA. Some people will come into them, some people won't. Some traps are more basic than others, but they set that trap, they pull that kick off. I've seen you speaking before, but that's a kick you've been training since you were no age. But how did it feel to do that on a stage like that? That went viral. That went viral after that popped up on my social media for about a month after I kept seeing it, and I was like, that was unbelievable.
To be honest, that was probably one of my favorite moments from my amateur career, because just that feeling of like seeing kickboxing, see if you got like a knockout. Like I've gotten about maybe 10 or 20 knockouts like that, but it's not a big deal because it happened to someone else 5 mats up a hall. So like kickboxing, it's not a big deal, but when you do it in MMA, it goes viral and it's like unbelievable. But to be honest, that wasn't the exact shot we were working out the back. We were working for our fight was hit the low kick, circle, and go for the lead high kick. That was the plan. But as I was circling, in my head, you sort of get like we split second thoughts. In my head, I sort of noticed his backhand was just slowly going down, and his lead hand was slowly going down. So in my head, I was like, now's the moment, go. And it didn't feel like I hit him. Like I honestly thought he just took a fall. And until I watched it click back, I watched it back and it's like, oh, I did hit him. But in my head, it didn't feel like it connected. I just seen him fall, and in my head was just finished.
That was perfect. That's perfect. You said there that you kind of seen that he had his hand low. Was that like the first time you had seen him do that in that fight, and it was just like a split decision, or had you seen him do that a few times and you thought, right, that's something I can try and land?
See, Adam, one of my coaches, like he looks in the off for me, sees what to do, so he knew exactly like all his mistakes, and he always sort of like dropped that lead hand, and like it was always like low, and he always did like a big lazy job, and it came back low. So Adam sort of he's a fucking genius with all that stuff. I don't know how he knows all this, so he was just telling me to look out for it and just watch for it there. And then Shando told me, he was like, just go out, pick your shots, and let the knockout come. He was like, do not force anything, don't rush anything, be patient, and a knockout will come. And he was right. So
it sounds like your coaches, you can. It paid off, definitely. It definitely paid off. You can see your coaches, they're very, very high level. Obviously, Adam, Pando, Shat, or Pando, Shando, and Pat. Fucking hell. You can tell it's such a high level gym, and FAI, you know, I follow everything on social media. So many flyweights coming through as well. That there's another bonus of you being there. You know, they've got Gerard Burns, who is one of the best flyweights in Europe at the moment. How much of your success does come down to the wee details that you see in the gym, working with guys like Paul Hughes and Corey McLaughlin and all these high-level guys, Paddy McCorry, a good list, could go on and on. How much of your kind of success has come from being in that environment?
Like a lot of success, because what a lot of people don't realize, when you're in an environment where everyone wants to become a world champion, you sort of adopt that environment and you want to do it, and that motivates you to get better, because we all motivate each other, we all push each other on. Like Paul, for an example, he would watch us spar and then he would come in and be like, try us here, you're doing this here, and like we all help each other out as much as we can. And I feel like that is so important, because one thing a lot of people mightn't see about it, like in Fed Academy, we're a family, we literally help each other out at all costs, and I think the team we have is just unbelievable, and I'm so glad to be a part of it. And I think it's played a big factor in my success throughout my amateur career.
It is special. Like I watched the vlog, I literally just watched it there like an hour or two ago, the one Paul Hughes released where he's in the change rooms at Cage Conflict at the weekend.
That's
the atmosphere, unreal.
Like that's just a tiny wee glimpse. It's like that all the time. Like it's so good. I genuinely believe we have the best team in the world, without a doubt.
You're obviously still very young, but you've been very, very successful in the amateur career. There will be guys that's looking at your amateur journey so far and thinking that's exactly how to do it. 2.5 years, 9-1. What more do you want? 5 titles. What kind of advice would you give to people? I was at Clan Wars there at the weekend, and there's a few guys making their amateur debuts and stuff like this. What kind of advice would you give to those sort of fighters that's just at the very start of their amateur career?
Big advice would be like, don't get too hung up on the losses, but don't get too high on the wins, because at the end of the day, it is amateur. It's like, it's so nice to have all these bouts and all these wins, but at the end of the day, it does not matter. Because the second I have my first pro fight, I go back to having 0 bouts and I'm 0-0. Like if I went 2 2-7 as an amateur. Like, who cares? Like, a good question is, what's Conor McGregor's amateur record? You don't know. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's all about
Yeah.
perfection. So my biggest advice is just don't get too high on the highs and too lows on the lows, and have fun and think about why you're fighting. You're doing it for fun. You want to make a career out of it. And if you put in the work, you will get out the rewards.
Yeah, and I think it's very important they remember as an amateur as well. Like, you get a clean slate as a pro, as you've kind of said there. Does that change your mindset? Like, does a defeat mean more as a pro to you then? Like, say you do go out and you suffer a defeat as a pro, do you think you'll struggle to maybe get over it as quick because you don't get a chance to wipe that slate clean, or is it all in your mindset that no, defeats happen in this sport, we go again?
Listen, it does matter a lot more, because as a professional, it looks better being 5-0 than it be 5-1, if that makes sense. So you do want to have a good record, but at the end of the day, if you do lose your fucking first pro fight, then listen, go back, fix your mistakes, and just believe in the work. I believe in seeing the work everyone in the gym's doing. I genuinely believe that it's all going to pay off, because look at Paul, for an example. He's at the top level. I do the exact same stuff as him. Big Paddy, he was on Ultimate Fighter. We have so many good fighters, and we all have the same dream. We all push each other on and see that environment. It's unbelievable.
Want you to think about your dream for a second. We'll think hypothetical situations here. 5 years down the line, how far has Damien McGuigan gone in this sport?
5 years is a good question. Hopefully, in 5 years' time, I'll be 25. I would like to be definitely a world champion by a point, whether it be in Cage Warriors, whether it be PFL, Bellator, and then maybe start breaking into the UFC. So that's where I see myself in 5 years. I see myself as a top prospect in the world.
You're definitely going the right way about it. You're on the right trajectory for sure. Right, I want to do some quick fire questions. Then I've got one deeper question for you to answer, but we'll kick off with the quick fire ones. First one, sub or KO?
What is it? Oh, KO.
KO.
100.
Dream fight location?
Fuck, that's hard to say. Honestly, Belfast SSE Arena.
Pass. That there's one that could come off soon. I was expecting loads of guys say like MSG or Vegas or something, but I like the fact you've kept it close to home there.
That's the support you'd get there, and how surreal I would be making the walk in Belfast, where have all that support is unbelievable. Don't get me wrong, it would be nice to fight in MSG and all, but SSE Arena 100.
I was there whenever Reece McKee knocked out Justin Berlinson in the SSE. Unreal.
That feeling, I looked at him, that's what I was like, I want to be like that in 5 years' time. I want to be winning a world title in Belfast. That would definitely be a dream of mine. Winning a world title in Belfast would be unbelievable.
Next one, the person who inspired you most?
Paul Hughes.
Pass. Most effective martial art in a street fight? I thought this was interesting because you've kind of you've more than dabbled with a lot of martial arts. Which one do you think is most effective in a street fight? This is a debate people have all the time.
Depends on the situation. How many people's there? Is it
one on one?
Wrestling, jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, you think so?
100%. Well, if it's more than one, then kickboxing.
Yeah. What about the spinning heel kicks or the spinning kicks then?
The most damn efficient sport, and it's not, because if it's a street fight and there's a boxer against a kickboxer, it's like, yeah, you have hands, but it's got to kick the legs out of you, it's got to keep you, got to kick the head in.
Whenever you're not used to taking them as well, I started like a 1v1 kickboxing last weekend. I kind of dabbled with a white collar. I do jiu-jitsu, but I've never done kickboxing. And the guy hit my leg once, just as a practice. I was like, fucking hell, give me a dead leg for about 2 minutes.
Leg kicks are. They're fucking aching, especially no shin pads on. They're sore.
Oh, they're so sore. And you don't really see their reaction too much. Obviously, sometimes if it's a crack or leg kick, if it's Alex Pereira throwing the leg kick or something like that, where they've got this unbelievable power. Yeah, but you don't often see the reaction from a leg kick, but it's very, very sore. Very sore. Next one. Favorite fighter of all time?
Myself. There we go.
Nice one. You nearly said McGregor there, did you?
I was gonna say McGregor, and then I thought about it myself. I'm my favourite fighter.
Yeah. No better person to back. Walkout song of choice.
Disco Lounge, Jerry Cinnamon.
Yes, mate. I love Better Jerry Cinnamon. Seen him a good few times in Belfast myself. Class. Right, last quick fire one. Your favourite food spot in Belfast?
Nando's.
Oh, mate. Basic.
Mate, I don't like see Nando's. I could eat that every single day of the week and not get bored of it. I absolutely
Serious?
love Nando's. But if I want to go like more local, coffee house. It's a nice wee spot on Town Road, and it's pretty nice.
Nice one. Nice one. Disappointed with the Nando's there. I suppose it's healthy. You have to be eating healthy. It's more healthy than your Bonsons and your Smash Bros.
I wouldn't even consider it healthy. I love Nando's. In fact, I might have one tonight.
You may as well. Right, last question. Always like to finish with this one, something a wee bit deeper. Why do you fight?
That's actually a really good question. It's what I like growing up. It's what I've always done, and it's something I enjoy doing. Like I love fighting. Like to see that feeling of making the walk, see like that nervousness you get. Like I enjoy all that. Like I thrive off it, and see that feeling of winning. It's honestly the best feeling in the world. So if winning a few amateur titles feels that good, what's winning a world title gonna feel like? Um, and just that, like doing like my parents and my family and all proud and making my coaches proud is another good one because obviously they got me in this sport. They got me in this sport for self-defense. They didn't know I could make a career out of it. So if I could win a world title and just let them know that all their sacrifices helped me get here, and it'd be so good.
You mentioned that the spinning head kick was your most enjoyable moment of your amateur career. What's the proudest moment you've had so far? Like a moment where you maybe looked at your family and thought, I've done them proud right now.
Proudest one, definitely maybe my last fight. I think was 100% because going in the fight, like I had a bad weight cut and like I was being sick loads and like the fight was close to being pulled. I had loads of problems. I had like problems with my kidneys. And in the fight, every time like he sort of grabbed the body lock, it was like burning pains all up my like side. And the fact that I was able to push through that, go 5 rounds against arguably like Alex Holm at the time. I'm saying at the time, but it wasn't that long ago. He was. Me and him were the best flyweights in the UK without a doubt. Like it wasn't for anyone else. Me and him were the best. So to go 5 rounds with him, and my ribs being fucking in agony was definitely a proud moment because it showed me that I was able to push through all the adversity and still come out on top. So if I can beat one of the top flyweights in the UK on my worst day, how am I going to be on my best day?
Yeah. You've got that dog in you from such a young age. Damien, we'll end on that. Thank you very much for joining. I can't wait to see you making a start in your pro career. It's been wonderful watching your amateur career, and I look forward to seeing you do well in the pro scene as well.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Cheers for coming on, mate. Thank you.